Welcome back to the Week 5 edition of Johnny's Scramble Drill. I'm Stucky, and joining me as he does each and every week is none other than Mr. Johnny Manziel. We will go through 3 of the best games on the board as we do each and every week. Johnny, before we do dive into some of the marquee matchups, just wanted to get your quick thoughts on everything that's going down at UNLV with Matthew Sluka, and something that only would happen in this new college football landscape.
Yeah, it definitely is one of the uglier sides of what we're kind of experiencing here, a little bit of the college football pay system, I guess. You have one guy coming out saying, I was promised this. You have the collective coming out on their side and pretty much saying that that was never the case. I think at the end of the day, no matter what's going on with the money, you have to be there to play ball. You're the opportunity to be, a starting quarterback at a school like UNLV. You got your guys that are relying on you. You have it's more than just the money. No, I know obviously you feel slighted and feel some type of way about it. Who really knows what the truth is in reality? But this is definitely one of the uglier sides of what we're dealing with on college football. And to be honest, I don't think this is the last that we'll see of something like this.
Yeah, I mean, can you see it going one of two ways? Like, could this be a rallying point for everybody else, or is it just going to disrupt the offense? I mean, they have a pretty competent backup. It was a close battle with the Campbell transfer, Malik Williams. Can you see it going either way with how this is going to impact the locker room and the offense?
Yeah, I think for your locker room, you want guys who want to be there, no matter what. And obviously, I think that they'll rally around their new guy and go on to try and continue to have a good season. They won't let this affect them too much. That's how I see it. You want the guys in your locker room who want to be there, who want to grind next to you, and who want to go out on Saturdays and lay it all on the field.
Yeah, and speaking of laying it all on the field, I know that you mentioned earlier this week in a discussion with Colin Wilson that Travis Hunter is the best player in college football. Look, if you want to talk about a potential Heisman moment, if he were the one to catch that Hail Mary and then force the fumble to clinch the game, that would have been something. But what do you think Hunter, or I guess Colorado, needs to do for Hunter to have a realistic shot of winning the Heisman? Like, how many games do they need to really win?
I don't know if there's a number that they have to get to where you're going to say, oh, okay, they win 7, 8 games. He should be in the Heisman conversation. I think he has to continue to keep doing what he's doing on the offensive side of the ball, keep putting up 100-yard games, keep scoring touchdowns, and keep making plays throughout games that people around the country are looking at and seeing this guy is an absolute game changer. And I think, obviously the defensive play he had at the end of the game last week, that is a huge moment for them to win that game and to close that thing out. So I think he has to continue to do exactly what he's doing and just continue that throughout the season.
Yeah, it's pretty unprecedented what we're seeing from Hunter. Just the sheer number of snaps and impact on both sides of the ball. It's just great to watch. We'll see what he can do at UCF this weekend and what should be a fun and entertaining watch. But let's get to the 3 marquee games. We'll kick things off with a Big 12 matchup between Kansas State and Oklahoma State in Manhattan. Both teams looking to bounce back from bad losses for different reasons last week. Oklahoma State hosting Utah. Cam Rising doesn't play, doesn't matter. Utah still, it might not look like the final score, but they won that game pretty comfortably before a couple late scores from Oklahoma State made it closer. Kansas State went out to BYU, got blown out, although the score a bit misleading. There was, I don't know, 3 or 4 BYU touchdowns over the course of 2 minutes of game time due to turnovers, a punt return touchdown, a defensive touchdown, a pretty wild game in Provo. So both teams looking to bounce back, stay in the thick of that Big 12 race. Who do you like here, Johnny?
I like Kansas State in this game by the spread. I think, Oklahoma State is just struggling right now to get Ollie Gordon involved and open up some running lanes for him. Obviously, the play of the quarterback position was so shaky last week. They had to kind of make a switch throughout that game. I think this is an Avery Johnson game for him to be able to take off in the run game and be able to make some plays with his arm and his legs and do just enough at home for Kansas State to win and to cover.
Yeah, the Oklahoma State run defense has not been great. It's one of the reasons why they couldn't beat Utah last week, despite no Cam Rising. Utah just ran it all over them. And now you're trying to bounce back from a game where you were on the field. Your defense was on the field for, I think, over 40 minutes in that heat. So it could be tough to bounce back against that Kansas State rushing attack. I assume that Kansas State, really important Big 12 game, unleash Avery Johnson and his legs here. Let him run wild. It's his biggest strength. But let's move on to our second game between Notre Dame and Louisville in South Bend. Notre Dame will be out for revenge from a loss last year. Notre Dame, I know everyone knows by now, they lost to Northern Illinois. Might be a blemish that they can't overcome. I think if they're going to overcome it to get to the college football playoff, they probably have to win out. It doesn't help that Northern Illinois in their next game after upsetting Notre Dame lost at home to Buffalo as 2 touchdown favorites. Louisville took care of business against Georgia Tech last week. Johnny, who do you like here?
I'm going to take Louisville money line here. I think Tyler Shook and Ryan Braun are going to have this team ready to go. Notre Dame just hasn't looked good enough on an offensive side to really feel like they're a playoff team. Yes, their defense is good. Yes, they have some key players back there, but offensively, I think it's just too much of a struggle for their passing game, which has pretty much been non-existent for the first weeks of the season. I like Louisville and Braun to go in there and have a big upset win.
Yeah, what Notre Dame wants to do is run the ball. They have just no downfield passing. Leonard's really struggling in that department. The pass protection hasn't been great. But that's where you want to attack Louisville, right? They lost one corner to the NFL. They have another corner. Other starting corner might not play. He's banged up. You want to throw on Louisville. Their run defense has been excellent. Their front is the strength of their defense. So it really can neutralize what Notre Dame wants to do. So Johnny likes Louisville to pull off the minor upset in South Bend. But let's get to the big one in prime time between Georgia and Alabama, a rematch of last year's SEC championship game. Georgia, small road favorite here. Both teams coming off the bye. Something that you don't normally see. Alabama as a small home dog. Haven't seen that since 2007. And this is actually the first time that Georgia will play, surprisingly, at Alabama in front of fans since 2007 as well. They did play in 2020, but obviously was not a full crowd. Johnny, who do you like here in this SEC showdown?
Yeah, this is a really tough game. One I think is obviously going to be an absolute battle of the trenches. I'm going to take the home team in Alabama on the money line against Georgia. Georgia just didn't look great against Kentucky. Obviously, both of them getting idle weeks this week to have a bye and be able to prepare for this game. I just like Jalen Milroe and the way that he's playing football right now and his ability to run the football and be a dual threat guy. I think obviously their downfield passing attack has been great. They're going up against the best defense that they've seen all this year in Georgia. But this is going to be a game that comes down to limiting turnovers. Turnover, battle is going to be a huge thing, and really making sure that there's no mistakes. And I think this is a game that Alabama will get that cleaned up, and it'll be a very close game, but one I think they'll sneak out and win.
All right, rolling with the small home dog Tide and Jalen Milroe. Talk about the Heisman board. Could see the Heisman board shift if one of these quarterbacks has a big day in such a marquee game early on in the season. But that'll do it for the Week 5 Scramble Drill. Thanks for joining me, Johnny. Good luck on your bets, and I'll see you next week.
Appreciate it, buddy.